Hello, my name's Glenn. Welcome back to the Cryptonest. 11 years ago today, Satoshi Nakamoto hard-coded the Genesis block of the Bitcoin network and changed monetary history forever. Today, I'd like to take a deep dive into Satoshi's 11-year anniversary of the Genesis block and give you some information on the founding of the Bitcoin network. So if you find this interesting, stick around to the end of the video and I'll be right back. Thanks for coming back today. I do appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much for being a part of my channel. If you could take a minute and subscribe to the channel, I would appreciate it. Click the little red subscribe button down below. Click the little bell notification. That way you can be notified whenever I release a new video. It is greatly appreciated. I thank you very much for that. As I was stating in the opening, that 11 years ago today, Satoshi Nakamoto created the Genesis block of the Bitcoin network. So Bitcoin is essentially 11 years old today. It wasn't actually, the idea wasn't created today, but the actual Genesis block was created today. 11 years ago today, Satoshi Nakamoto launched the Bitcoin network at approximately 1815 UTC, and the world hasn't been the same since. The Bitcoin blockchain came to life on January 3rd of 2009, and so far more than 600,000 blocks have been mined into existence. Nakamoto's Genesis block is special, and the hard-coded block has a few unique characteristics compared to the rest of the chain of blocks that followed. And we're going to go over all of that for you here today. Satoshi Nakamoto released the white paper for the Bitcoin network in October of 2008. It was actually Halloween, October of 31st of 2008. It was in direct response to all the stuff that was going on, in my opinion, a direct response to all the things that were going on within the banking industry, which we will cover a little bit further on in here in the article. But the launch of the Bitcoin blockchain started with a hard-coded block, which was called the Genesis block, also known as block 0. The block is unique because it has actually a 50 Bitcoin reward subsidy. It can never be spent. When he hard-coded, when Satoshi, I say he, she, they, it, whoever it was that created Satoshi, that created Satoshi Nakamoto, that created Bitcoin, they hard-coded a 50 BTC or 50 Bitcoin reward into that block. That 50 Bitcoin can never be spent. It will always be locked up there forever. Why they did that exactly, we're not sure, but it has been there ever since and will never be able to be taken out. It is hard-coded into that block. So block 0 also has a message in a Coinbase parameter, which represents a possible reminder, as I was stating a moment ago, as to why the cryptocurrency was created. Many of you may remember back in 2008, we had a huge housing crisis, a major financial crisis. Banks were getting bailed out. Money was flowing into the banks all over the place to try to save them. Again, I believe that this was done in direct response to that. When the Genesis block was hard-coded, as you've seen in a lot of movies and other things like that, you know, somebody may hold up a newspaper with a date or something on it to show what day it is in a picture that's being taken. Well, this is the same concept here. January 3rd, of 2009, the chancellor is on the brink of second bailout for the banks. And as you can see down here in the lower right-hand corner of this, is what you're seeing here is actually the Genesis block, the hexadecimal code of the Genesis block. And you can see hard-coded right here into the Genesis block is the message, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. That article is here on the front of the Times on Saturday, January 3rd, 2009 in the UK. Chancellor on brink of second bailout for the banks. And just like the Beatles, Satoshi left a backwards message in block 0. Not only did he put this message in there forwards, but he also hard-coded it in there backwards as well. So if anyone has the ability to decipher the hexadecimal code of the Genesis block, you will find that printed in there backwards also. During the last 11 years, members of the crypto community have sent small fractions of Bitcoin to the Genesis block's address. And to date, block 0 has 68.13 BTC or Bitcoin, which is 18.13 Bitcoin, $131,527 more than it had originally started with. Some of the people that sent these messages, sent these Bitcoin, were sending little fractions of Bitcoin, actually asking Satoshi to send some money back in hopes, in the beginning, as I'm going to go in here in just a moment, he sent some Bitcoin out to a few people in the beginning to kind of get the network started, to introduce it to people, such as Hal Finney and some others that we're going to talk about here. So people have since then, whether it's been to send homage or, just to have their be a part of history, because of course everything is immutable on the blockchain. So if you sent money to that wallet, somebody would be able to see that transaction forever. Not necessarily who sent it, but see the transaction forever. Kind of way of getting themselves into history, so to speak, I guess. As a matter of fact, 3 people have actually sent funds to the address today, in 2019, in 2020, excuse me. An interesting fact about the 18.13 Bitcoin worth of outputs sent to this block 0 is that the funds can be spent. The other 50 Bitcoin that were originally hard-coded in cannot. But if Satoshi actually had access to those private keys, which I'm sure he does if he still possesses the keys to those wallet addresses, he would be able to go in and cash out those other 18 if he wanted to. Now, if you ever hear people talking about the fact that, well, it'd be real easy for someone to prove that they were Satoshi, all they'd have to do is go in there and withdraw those original 50 or take out some of those original 50 Bitcoin. If you hear somebody saying stuff like that, understand that you're talking to somebody who hasn't done enough research into it, because those first 50 Bitcoin can never be spent. They will always be locked up into that first block, as far as I understand it. If I'm mistaken, please somebody correct me, but it's my understanding that those 50 Bitcoin can never be spent. They will always be locked up in there. As we stated earlier in the beginning, no one really knows who Satoshi Nakamoto was. They have a lot of clues, a lot of hints that kind of tell them, who it might be or who it could be, kind of a profile, so to speak. They know, for example, that Bitcoin's creator was a Microsoft user. Bitcoin version 0.1, the original Bitcoin code-based implementation, was written in the coding language C++, and blocks that were mined in the early days used a Windows GUI mining application. So they're pretty sure that whoever it was using Windows, some form of Windows mining application. Therefore, it's safe to say that they were probably a Microsoft user. They were mined with a CPU, basically the main brain processor of your computer, which is nowhere near as powerful as the huge warehouses that we have today with all what they call ASICs, or application-specific integrated computers. You've probably seen pictures of these big warehouses full of these machines that are mining Bitcoin. Those are called ASICs. The first Bitcoin was mined with just a CPU of a regular computer. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, it could have even possibly been a laptop. He was able to mine like 50 Bitcoin or more in a day back in 2009 when Bitcoin originally started. Of course, that's nowhere near possible today with the hash rates and all the big computers we have. The subsequent block after the Genesis block, it took 6 days. Now, there are those that assume that Bitcoin's creator took a break between block 0 and 1. Some say Nakamoto purposely made it so that the timeline was similar to the Bible's Genesis tale, when the earth was created in 7 days. That's one possible option. I don't really know personally. I wasn't there. I can't say, but there was 6 or 7 days in between. As you can see here, on January 10th, there was a tweet put out by Hal Finney, and Hal Finney was the first person to actually transact with Bitcoin in coordination with Satoshi Nakamoto. It was the first transaction took place 3 days after block 1, and coins that were sent to Hal Finney were sent from block number 9. Finney told the world a few days earlier he was running Bitcoin on Twitter on January 10, 2009. Hal Finney has since passed, rest in peace. He's no longer around. There's been a big movement to try to keep his Twitter account open as a monument to him and to Bitcoin. Don't know where that's going to go, but Hal Finney was one of the first persons to transact with Bitcoin, originally with Satoshi Nakamoto, and actually had email communication with him in the beginning. The veteran cryptographer Finney told the public in 2013 that he was the first person to mine Bitcoin alongside of Nakamoto. When Satoshi announced the first release of the software, I grabbed it right away. I think I was the first person besides Satoshi to run Bitcoin, explained Finney. Satoshi Nakamoto's pre-release source code tells a story. While examining the first versions of the Bitcoin source code, which came out prior to January 3rd of 2009, people have found some very interesting details in there. One of them being a person, Bitcoin Talk member credit. They noticed that Satoshi referred to the blockchain as a time chain, and the word Bitcoin miner can be found also. So it's kind of interesting to see that the wording is a little bit different, and of course, as the idea progressed into what it is today, of course, there was going to be different evolutions of it, different ideas of it. It could be a possibility that different people, there's been rumors that Satoshi Nakamoto is more than one person. So one person using the word coin, one person using the word token, that could be an option. One person using time chain, another using blockchain, that could be an option. Nobody really knows who, but there's been some very interesting things that they have found here as far as the references using different words for different things. Other intriguing words can be found in the early code, like how Nakamoto referred to Bitcoin's smaller units as a coin and cent, rather than today's popular terms as Satoshis. The pre-release Bitcoin code also contained early framework for an IRC client, a peer-to-peer marketplace, and a virtual poker game. So it's obvious that Satoshi had more ideas for Bitcoin than just being a store of value. And to a great number of people, Satoshi Nakamoto's code and initial Bitcoin launch on January 3rd were the start of a monetary revolution. The software has sparked the idea that peer-to-peer and censorship-resistant money can exist, removed from governments, corporations, and any single entity. Today, there's over 6,000 different currencies. The state's 4,000. There's over 6,000, although I have to be honest with you, I do believe that probably 5,900 of them will disappear. I don't think we're going to end up with 6,000 different cryptocurrencies. I believe that there will be a select few that end up making it throughout the different evolutions that are going to be needed going forth to make it to the next generation. So I do believe we'll see a lot of them disappear as time goes on. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own research and don't ever buy anything because some guy on YouTube or anybody else told you to. Make sure that whatever investment you make fits your own needs and your own desires. Whenever possible, do check with a financial advisor before making any investments, as any investment you do make could end up going to zero and you can lose money. It's just inevitable when you're investing. So having said that, I do believe that a lot of them will go away, although, which is why it's important to be careful. Although I do believe, and I'm sure that Bitcoin now, after 11 years, is going to be pretty strong. It's going to stand the test of time, and I don't believe that Bitcoin is going anywhere. And several others are going to be right there with it. Will run side by side with it. So just do your research and make sure you know what it is that you're putting your money into. The fact that the Bitcoin network and the protocol's offspring continue to thrive today after 11 years is quite a milestone. I mean, as I was just saying, it's been around for a long time. I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. And Nakamoto's creation has been a gift that just keeps on giving. So many people are using it now. I mean, people are using different forms of cryptocurrency and that would never have been able to use it before. They don't have banks. Some of these people don't have banks where they are, and using cryptos is just a way that they can transact in money without having to use the banks. So he really has opened up a whole new realm as technology goes. You know, as technology evolves, we find whole new uses for it. And he came up with a technology that was obviously needed, and people have jumped all over it and have been finding all kinds of uses for it. So I do believe that Bitcoin is here to stay. The creation of Bitcoin's Genesis block in the beginning stages of the network slowly started to gather more supporters as time progressed, and to this day we don't know what happened to Satoshi. when the creator left the scene in 2010. As I said earlier, we don't know who he is, where he is, what happened. But by the time that he left, he's credited in having mined over 1 million or close to 1 million Bitcoins. Since then, the establishment has scorned the technology year after year while Bitcoin has steadily gained traction. You've heard me talk about the banks. You've heard me talk about Jamie Dimon with JP Morgan coin, talking about Bitcoin and how their employees would be fired, yet they were mining it in the back rooms. So, yeah, the establishment was scorning the technology for years and years, but as of right now, the financial elites are calling cryptocurrencies crap in the past, have now started to attempt to commercialize them in 2015, and moving forward from 2015, they've been getting a lot of commercial attention. We now have things like Backed, which is run by the Intercontinental Exchange, the parent company to the New York Stock Exchange, trading in Bitcoin. I mean, that's pretty big. Right here in the Times paper, BitMEX sponsored. BitMEX is a huge Bitcoin and cryptocurrency exchange. They sponsored a thank you message to Satoshi for the Times January 3rd, 2019 front page. Included on the front page is the hash of Bitcoin block 554,509, in which Bitmain's Jihan Wu, which is the CEO of Bitmain, and the mining pool BTC.com added the message, "Thanks Satoshi," in the Coinbase parameter, just like Satoshi had hard-coded into the original block the message to the chancellors, the chancellor on the brink of the second bailout. Well, they have gone ahead, and BitMEX has coded into one of their transactions the message, "Thanks Satoshi, we owe you one, happy 10th birthday Bitcoin." So I thought that was pretty cool. Satoshi software is more than just a fundamental breakthrough. I'm going to go ahead and close it up with this here because I think this says it pretty well. Satoshi software is more than just a fundamental breakthrough in computer science. The technology is also a peer-to-peer, open, secure, censorship-resistant, and the most deliverable type of money ever created. Since the generation of the Genesis block 10 years ago today, the technological innovation has allowed for a pure form of voluntary free market exchange. Transactions between global individuals are conducted in a permissionless manner across hundreds of invisible borders without the need for any pre-existing trust. The innovation Satoshi gave to the world in 2008 is the current monetary system's black swan, equipped with a positive feedback loop. Its ability to survive 10 turbulent and testing years is surely an event worth celebrating. So what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. What do you think about Bitcoin? What do you think about Satoshi creating this? Do you like the idea? Do you use it? Do you have any of it? Do you think that the technology was needed? Let me know your thoughts. I'd be interested to know. Thank you for being here with me today. I really appreciate you coming. Take a moment to click the subscribe button down below. Click the little bell notification so you can be notified when I release new videos. Give it a like if you find any of the information in this video informative or helpful. Please give it a like. It helps the channel. I do appreciate it. There's some links down in the description down below. Take a look through some of those. If you find any of them interesting, please feel free to use them. Thank you very much for all that you do. Thank you very much for being here today. I really appreciate you. Have a great day. Bye-bye now.